The whispering hour. There's a minute in every nightmare that's more real than the rest. That second when you know you're awake, but all the rules have changed. For me, it all started with the whispers. I should tell you up front, I never used to believe in the supernatural. The house I inherited from my uncle, nestled on the edge of the old forest outside Crestbrook, had always felt less like a home and more like a rundown retreat. Winters rattled the cracked windows, and summers thrummed with the insect song. Isolation suited me. I worked from home as an analyst, the only company the distant owl calls and wind-churned branches. My routine bled into monotony. Dinner, tea, a book, bed. I slept soundly, unbothered by loneliness or the nighttime hush, until the first whisper. That night I woke abruptly, heart hammering, pulse thick in my ears. I glanced at the clock. 2:15 a.m. The house was utterly silent, the world muted as though underwater. I was drifting back to sleep when I heard the faintest scrap of sound. Here. A man's voice? Woman's? I couldn't tell. I convinced myself it was the wind scraping along the siding or a fox brushing the wall. The next morning, I laughed it off. My mind starved for human contact. I texted my sister in the city. Heard weird voices last night. Ghost of Uncle Harry probably just wants me to dust. She sent back a skull emoji and a shot of her wine night. That should have been the end of it. But the second night, it returned, 2:15 a.m., sharp as a knife. I lay fixed in the dark, holding my breath, ears striving to catch something beyond the familiar. There it was, a hiss, almost playful. This time, more voices, a tangle of syllables just outside the wall. I pressed my head to the cool window pane. Now I could hear them, distinct, insistent. Let me in. Something in their tone felt ancient, desperate. I leapt into action, threw on my robe, grabbed a heavy flashlight, and padded down the hall. My front door, with its warped wood and triple locks, was secure. I peered through the fish-eye peephole. The porch was empty, but for rain streaks and the tangle of overgrown weeds. Still, I locked every barrier I could find. Heart thudding. The rest of the night passed in uneasy silence. But it became a habit. Night after night, 2:15 a.m., whispers pattering like rain, circling the house. Sometimes I caught words, listen, please, come. Other times, it was just breathy static, like a dying radio station. A week in, I quit pretending it was nothing. I kept a journal. My entries grew frantic. 2nd April, 2:15 a.m. Whispers again. Multiple voices. Sounded like, help us make haste. 4th April. Maybe 8 voices tonight. Something new. Crying. 5th April. Felt overwhelming dread. Light flickered in the hall. Power fluctuation? Exhaustion gnawed at me, but curiosity chewed deeper. Each morning, I inspected the outside. Footprints, disturbances, anything physical. But the ground by every window was untouched, only the wind and the forest pressing close. I researched the house's history, the land, my uncle's records, old newspaper clippings, every dead end piled higher on my paranoia. Uncle Harry's notes were mostly grocery lists and rants about the full moon, no secret last confessions, no hints of the past. By the end of the second week, the routine was part of me. I stopped just wishing it away and started to listen. On the 14th night, I set up my phone with a voice recorder, placed against the window facing the west side, where the whispers always felt strongest. Sleep was nervous, perforated by subconscious dread. But when the time came, the voices were unmistakable, so close I could sense breath fogging the glass. One phrase louder than the rest: "Join us." I flinched, catching my own reflection in the moonlit window. Something darted on the edge of vision, movement in the wild dark outside. I threw back the curtains, nothing but the sickle of the moon and the tall, swaying grass. The next day, trembling with anticipation, I played back the recorder files. The sounds were not like any noise my house should make. Echoes flitted in and out. Here, under, below. Then a whimper, like a child's. The hair on my neck stood up. Something felt just wrong about the patterns. A subtle, inhuman cadence to the whispers. When I played the minute at double speed, I could almost discern a chilling, broken rhythm, like fragments of some forgotten song. I posted a snippet to a local online forum. Anyone else near Crestbrook hearing strange things at 2:15 a.m.? No replies. Sleep fled me. I watched the clock, hands cold against sweaty sheets, as I waited for the nightly return. Sometimes, the whispers shifted sides, from east to west, then north, as if encircling my house, hunting away inside. I checked every door and window, sealed every crack with towels, duct tape, silver salt lines hastily ordered from the internet. Nothing helped. On the 19th night, I caught a glimpse through the peephole. The porch light, always dying after midnight, was flickering again. In that liminal amber, I saw long shadows stretching outward, not toward the street, but toward the house itself. That's when I started noticing big, jagged cracks spiraling down the walls of the living room, marks that hadn't been there before. And they were growing, each morning branching a little deeper, as if the house was buckling under some invisible pressure. At breakfast, my phone buzzed, an automated emergency alert. A missing person, 34-year-old Daniel Mazer, reported last seen in Crestbrook, just 3 miles away. The picture, that man's wide, frightened eyes, like he'd heard what I'd heard, haunted me. That afternoon, a neighbor came by, an elderly woman I rarely saw. "You're keeping odd hours," she said, her voice thin as wind. "Best not to listen too closely. The woods remember." I wanted to press her, ask if she'd heard what I had, but something in her gaze stilled my tongue. By then, the house felt less like a refuge and more like a held breath, a trap waiting to snap shut. On the 22nd night, I resolved to see for myself. No more cowering, no more listening. I sat at my desk facing the west window, flashlight and my uncle's old hunting knife beside me. The clock, relentless, ticked toward 2:15. At exactly the moment the air outside thickened, pressing like velvet against the glass, the hum began, soft as moth wings, then escalating into feverish susurrations. But tonight was different. A chill clawed its way down my spine. I heard footsteps, soft, almost shuffling, circling the foundation with ritualistic patience. I dared to peer out. Moonlight carved the yard into pale blue and bottomless black. Amidst the weeds, movement coalesced. A crowd of indistinct figures, not shadows, not animals. Human shapes, but wrong. Limbs too long, heads lolling at odd angles, standing in a ragged, silent congregation. As I watched, the tallest one stepped forward, face entirely shadow, as if light refused to touch it. It leaned toward the window. The whisper surged. "Let us have you. It's time." My legs refused to move. Terror rooted me. A sudden, desperate idea seized me. I opened the recorder on my phone and, in a shaking voice, demanded, "Who are you? What do you want?" The answer came not from one voice, but from dozens, layered and echoing like a chorus trapped under the earth. It was a rush of syllables in a cadence I felt more than understood, as if their message was pressing into my mind rather than into my ears. "We are what you left behind. We are the midnight hunger. We are waiting." My heart thudded so loud I thought it would betray me, drown out the words. The crowd outside the window seemed to shimmer, edges blurring, forms threatening to leak out of reality and into nightmare. I pressed myself against the wall, out of sight, but the whispers surged as if they sensed exactly where I cowered. Then came the scratching, dry, brittle, 1,000 fingernails skimming the wood. It traced the outline of my window. The pressure in the room became suffocating. The air hummed as if electrified, the lights flickering between feverish brightness and pitch. I had to do something, anything. Grabbing my phone, I stumbled backward and managed to press send on a desperate email to my sister. The message was a panicked mess. "Help me. Voices. They want in. Not human. Not right. 2:15, please." There was a heavy knock at the door. Once. Twice. 3 times. The sound didn't echo in the house like normal. Instead, it seemed to echo inside my skull. I waited, not daring to breathe. "Open," they chorused. So many voices threaded together. "Or we will choose another door." Then, as suddenly as they'd come, the voices retreated, fading into the woods as if carried by the wind. The air snapped clear, cold and thin. My phone battery was nearly dead. I must have been holding it in a death grip for an hour. Knuckles white, thumb hovering over the call button for 911 I never pressed. The next morning, there were no footprints in the dew, but those cracks in the wall? One now ran straight from the windowsill to beneath the floorboards, dark, jagged, and pulsing as if filled with some black resin. I spent the day boarding windows, stacking furniture against doors, reciting every childhood prayer I knew. My sister didn't reply. The emergency alert for the missing man was gone. It was as if nothing had ever happened. That night, I couldn't face the 2:15 hour. I hid in a closet, curled around the hunting knife, ears plugged with tissue. Still, I heard the whispers as if through water. They spoke not just around the house, but inside, leaking from the cracks, spilling from the darkness between the walls. My own name, now. Come out. We see you. We always saw you. I slept not at all. Days blurred. I documented everything. Audio, photos of the cracks, even videos of my own wild-eyed face narrating into the phone. The phenomena only escalated. Shadows curved under doors where no light fell. Strange stains climbed the kitchen sink. Sometimes it seemed the house itself exhaled. A groan through the beams, a cold draft skittering along the ceiling. I tried to leave. Each time, an accident or a failing car battery stalled me at the last moment. The one time I made it to the threshold, the woods outside the porch were inexplicably thick, pitch black and thrumming with invisible movement. At 2:15, the taunting always resumed. One night, desperate, I Googled folklore for the region and the phrase, midnight whispers. One haunting reference surfaced in a crumbling digital archive. Something about the telling hour, an ancient superstition. It read, "When the dead whisper, the chosen must stay inside, for they hunger for remembrance and for new voices to welcome to their company. Once the invitation is heard, the soul must never answer, else the darkness will know its name." My blood chilled. Had I not answered? That night by the window, I'd spoken right to them. What have I done? The next night, the 2:15 ritual did not start outside. It started within. I was at my desk, hands shaking over the keyboard. The room was stifling, the air pressed with invisible static. The whispers started at the far end of the hall, threading between the walls like rivers. This time, unmistakably, they rose up from beneath the house, the crawl space. I forced myself to move, drawn by something primal, something that wasn't quite fear. I had to know. I grabbed a flashlight, flickering weakly, and crept to the basement door, where a thin crack spilled up from the linoleum, seeping a darkness utterly defiant of my beam. I unlatched the door. The stairs yawned downward, each step a groaning protest. When I reached the bottom, the cold was absolute, a place untouched by time or reason. The whispers were now all around me, so loud they bordered on a chant. "Join us! Join us!" With trembling hands, I panned the flashlight, sweeping over broken furniture and old storage bins littered in the dirt. In the far wall, just below the rim of the foundation, a hole had splintered open in the brickwork. Something was breathing from behind it, a heartbeat pulsing in the earth itself. I crawled closer. Inside, I saw countless pale, glistening eyes, hundreds spiraling back into the black. The scent was sharp, fetid, a memory of deepest rot. The closest eyes blinked, and a mouth formed on the wall itself. Wide, lipless, hunger-damp and shivering, it spoke in Uncle Harry's voice. "Let me in," it pleaded softly. "I'm so cold out here. I never left, you know. Neither did any of us. That's why you were chosen. Family always opens the door sooner or later." My mind reeled. I tried to scramble away, but invisible hands snagged my ankles. Cold as the grave, the mouth pulled wider. "Say you welcome me," the voices crooned from behind the mouth, "and it can all stop. Call my name. End the wait." It felt like forever. Walls flexed and breathed around me. Should I call out for Harry, for the missing neighbor, for myself? I clamped my jaw shut, refusing to give it even that much. I remembered the warning. Once the invitation is heard, the soul must never answer, else the darkness will know its name. With the last shreds of my sanity, I screamed, "No, you are not welcome," and slammed my body backward, up the stairs, bashing my face and shins, but still pulling away. The whispering rose to a maelstrom of rage, thousands of voices, every syllable a biting wind. I barely made it out, slamming the door, shoving a bookshelf against it. I waited, breath ragged in my burning lungs, as the house settled into a hateful silence. For the first time in weeks, 2:15 a.m. passed quietly. It has been 3 months. The cracks in the walls sealed themselves like scars. My sister finally replied to my panicked emails. She's sorry, but she never received them. She promises to visit soon. Every night, I check all the doors and windows. I thought it was over, but last week, I found my voice recorder on the porch, wrapped in a sheet of brown butcher's paper. I didn't leave it there. Hadn't even set foot outside since that night. The device played only static until 2:15 a.m. when it screeched with the cackling of voices, one layered above the rest. They recite my full name over and over in unison. And yesterday, I got a letter from the bank about my mortgage. The address line, my name, and just below it, a new name, etched twice over mine in faint gray ink. Harry T. Avery, my uncle's handwriting. The ink bled through the paper, twisting the letters. This morning, there was a knock at the door. Not 3 times, but 2. And the last one was very soft, low to the ground. I glanced at the clock. 2:15 p.m. The sunlight fell just right, sending a river of shadows through the cracks of the floor. And from the crawl space beneath, I heard my own voice whispering up to the house, "Let me in."
We hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this video, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.